Michael Thomas is back. Well, sort of. We'll talk about it right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Huda Nation? It's Chris Vogel of the Straight Up Saints podcast. And as always, we're brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore, Scott McNair handles it all. You can give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. That's right, a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. So, you read it, you heard it. You've seen the videos, seen the photos, you've seen everything. You're going nuts on Twitter on a Tuesday afternoon. And why is that? Because Michael Thomas is back on the football field. He returned to practice for OTAs this Tuesday. The big news obviously coming out of Saints camp this week, rightfully so. Number 13 obviously generates a certain type of aura and buzz when he steps on the field because he is that dude. Now, look, there's ways to go, right? He's not 100%. Now, he did say that he will be ready for day one of training camp. He said that is the goal. He wants to be out there just like the old days. The mentality's there. He just debunked any narratives about how he feels about the organization. He's on a great page, I'd say, and trajectory with Derek Carr, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the story is Michael frickin' Thomas is out on the football field. And I know that there's injury concerns, and I know that the history for this poor guy over the last 4 or 5 years has been downright brutal. Obviously, 2019, magical season, historic season. 2020, gets hurt week 1, never the same. 2021, don't see him out there. 2022, you see him out there week 1, you basically get a dominant performance from it, and you wish you didn't see it because it was a tease, because 2 games later, he gets hurt and he's out for the rest of the year. So for Michael Thomas, he is still that dude when he's healthy. And I know I got to say the when he's healthy part, and I know that it's frustrating for everyone because we don't know if he will be healthy, but the fact that he is going out there in the beginning of June and meeting up with his teammates and being out on the football field and even participating in the slightest of capacities, that's a good sign for me. The last thing you wanted, would it be late July, training camp rolls around, and you haven't seen Michael Thomas at all? Because then you start to have those doubts, right? They creep in the back of your mind, and you start to wonder, is he fully invested? Is he going to be ready? What's the situation? All those doubts are erased. Now, there are always going to be the concerns, and that is okay, but the doubts are gone, and that's important. Now, the second aspect of this, if there's one player who's going to come back from all the shit that he's gone through, it's Michael Thomas. It is without a doubt Michael Thomas, because that dude is different. He's wired in ways that you and me and the common folks can't understand. Because when you think all the chips are down and when you think everything's going against you and you feel like you can't bounce back, for him, that seems to be bulletin board material. And I promise you, and I can't make a guarantee if he'll be healthy, but I promise you, when he's on the field, he's going to make a damn difference next season. I promise you that. And I love how he's speaking about Derek Carr, because the one thing that I really did actually question about Michael Thomas the last couple seasons, and it has nothing to do with this play, what was the connection with him and the other quarterbacks in the room? Where was the relationship there? How eager are you to fight on the field? Because remember in 2020, he played through pretty much one of the worst ankle injuries you can have because he needed and wanted to be out there for Drew Brees' last season. So when I hear that he has that special connection with Derek Carr and that he loves Derek Carr and Derek Carr really gets along well with him, and from day one, they've been talking with each other about how they can be on the same page and how they can make that connection off the field translate to success on the field, hell yeah, I'm excited. And look, I've said this a million times this offseason. I'll say it one more time just for good measure. This could blow up in all of our faces, right? This could be September, October, and we're looking at the Saints, we're like, what a disappointing year. But you're lying to yourself if you don't feel like there's reason from a roster standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, from a vibe standpoint, to not be optimistic about what you see in front of your face. So yeah, it is June. And yeah, I'm excited that Michael Thomas is back on the football field, even if it is in limited capacity. And I love the fact that him and Derek Carr are on the same page. Because at the end of the day, I remember throughout the last couple of seasons with Drew and Michael Thomas, it was always is Michael Thomas making Drew's prime extended, or did Drew Brees make Michael Thomas? It takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to make a thing go right. And I swear, these two, it makes a lot of sense. Because on one hand, you got Michael Thomas, who, like I've mentioned, is motivated to prove everyone wrong through all the injuries he's been through. And on the other side of the coin, you got Derek Carr, who was released by the franchise that drafted him, put him through the goddamn ringer. And every single game, no matter how much dysfunction was around him, you knew Derek Carr was going to give his best. And you know what? It wasn't always there. And I get that. And Derek Carr's far from a perfect quarterback. But he got released by that very team that drafted him and put a lot of stock into him. And guess what? He's going to be highly motivated to prove them wrong. So you got QB1, who's out to prove that he is a franchise quarterback. And you got wide receiver 1 out to prove everyone that's wrong. Anyone who's given him a bad look, he's out to prove you wrong. And I think that marriage on and off the field is going to work for them. It's about the health factor. And we will discuss it in depth on the Straight Up Saints podcast. We will discuss it in depth on Twitter. We'll discuss it in depth everywhere in Saints space as possible. When the season begins, it will be a talking point. But for now, it's June. It's beautiful out. You deserve, as a Saints fan, to be optimistic. And if you don't want to because you don't want to get your hopes up, that is totally okay. I understand that. There's nothing worse than getting your hopes up. But if you're like me right now and you want to be excited about things, I say do it, because there's a lot to like about this. And at the end of the day, man, who the hell wants to be pessimistic all offseason, then get to season, and let's say it doesn't go well? You be pessimistic 12 months a year? I can't do that. It's not for me. But on the real, guys, I really do feel like this is the start of something good for Michael Thomas in June, already being on the practice field. And I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to say about this. So as always, make sure in the comment section below you leave your thoughts, and I will get back to them. Hit me up on Twitter if you want as well, too. You guys know I'm practically living on there during times like this. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys have to say. And as always, make sure to subscribe to Boot Crew Media's YouTube page, so when videos like this come out, you're immediately notified. But that's going to do it for us here on the Straight Up Saints podcast. Michael Thomas is back. It's going to be a beautiful week, and I hope you guys end up feeling the same way about 13's return. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more content here, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.